Jafary.
Yes,
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
of
right.
course.
I guess we could bring, well, we'll start this screen. All right, so
I have,
what about on position? Let's start with position Blaine Smith, position 1. We have the officer for that, or
Your Honor, for position 1, Officer Smalls with the Atlanta Police Department badge number 6940 was properly subpoenaed. And he is not currently present in the courts today. We're trying to determine if he's on his way or not.
all right, and then the officer on position 2.
Officer is Officer Roger Burkhart with the South Fulton Police Department badge number 0029. Officer was properly subpoenaed and we're trying to determine if the officer is on his way or not. Your Honor.
All right, and then we obviously have the officer on the rest of the case.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I guess we can bring out, or you are ready, right, Ms. Kennebrew?
Yes.
All right, we can bring out Arthur Myers.
Are we proceeding with position 3, Your Honor? 3, 4,
Well,
5, 6,
yeah,
7.
3
And then.
et al. You come on up, detective. You come on up and have a seat. I guess that's Ms. Kennebrew, since you're doing it. After we finish Mr. Myers, we'll talk about the other 2 cases, see if that officer gets here. If you raise your right hand, you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you state your name, spell it for the court reporter, please.
Sergeant Dickerson, Sergeant Dickerson is spelled P as in Paul, SERDA. Last name is Dickerson, DICKERSON.
All right, stand by, we'll get. Ms. Kennebrew, are we addressing bond on these, I guess?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Like this one.
Sorry, I hadn't even pulled it up yet, so I don't know. All right,
And.
so this is Arthur Myers.
I'm sorry, Ms. Sims, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, let's see. All right, this is, so it'll be positions 3 through 8. 22 CP 214695, Arthur Myers, 161 days without indictment, burglary in the 2nd degree, and they're all 161 days without indictment. Position 4, 22 CP 214696, Arthur Lee Myers, burglary in the 2nd degree. Position 5, 22 CP 214697, Arthur Lee Myers, burglary in the 2nd degree. Position 6, 22 CP 214698, Arthur Lee Myers, burglary in the 2nd degree. 22 CP 214699, position 7, burglary in the 2nd degree. And position 8, 22 CP 214700, Arthur Lee Myers, burglary in the 2nd degree. And we will address bond. I'm sorry, Ms. Kennebrew. My Odyssey is just opening up. So is there bond on any of these yet?
Yes, Your Honor. There is a $15,000 bond on each.
Okay, all right. So we'll just take that up after the hearing. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. I missed it, Your Honor. Did he state his name and?
He did.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Good morning, Officer Dickerson. Sergeant Dickerson, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you're here on multiple different cases, so we're going to go through them one by one. As it pertains to the events of September 7th, 2022, where were you employed at that time?
The city of South Fulton.
And in what capacity?
Sergeant, as in the CID Criminal Investigation Division.
Were you post certified?
Yes.
As it pertains to the events of September 7th, 2022, can you tell us what happened?
So at that time, we received a call in reference to a Family Dollar being burglarized. Units went to the location where we was able to retrieve video footage of the actual incident. During the course of that span of a couple of days, we had a couple of Family Dollars that was hit. with the same MO, far as a rock being thrown through the window. In these videos, the defendant was seen on camera, on multiple videos. At that time, we did a surveillance of the area where we showed bolos. Bolos were sent out of the individual. Anonymous person came forth and gave a nickname of a twin. So we started saturating.
So what was the name?
Nickname Twin,
Can you spell that for the record, please?
TWIN.
Okay, what happened?
So after, I would say, a couple of weeks of searching for Twin, Sergeant Burkhart came in contact with him at that time.
With whom?
Came in contact with Mr. Myers to try to get identification. At that time, he fit the description of the actual bolo.
What was the description given at that time?
So it was actual bolo created of Mr. Myers. Each surveillance we had, it was a snippet taken of him. Most of his burglaries, he did not wear a mask. So it was, once we got that bolo, we give it to all our officers, and then we actually try to saturate the area.
What was that particular description though? Was it based on, I'm assuming that it was based on the video, correct?
Yes, it was based off the video.
And what did you see? What was the description of the person that you saw on the video?
So at that time, you can see a short statue male, black male, with a beard, and also different video surveillance who wear different clothing. But the one with the pretty boutique hair, he had a white shirt on. The family doll, I don't recall what he had on, but when he committed the crime, he did not wear an actual mask or covering over his face.
What was the location of that family doll?
The first one was 7490 Old National Highway, which is the Family Dollar.
And where is 74, I'm sorry, what county is 7490 Old National Highway?
It's in Fulton County.
Thank you. And just to make sure, you mentioned that there was a brick that was thrown
So yes, so in most
at
of
the
the
family dollar, I'm sorry.
yes, it was a breakdown. A rock, some kind of rock brick looking thing. And that's what the MO on most of the burglaries that happened in the Old National Corridor. So with the multiple burglaries that occurred, which kind of addressed the rest of the positions, they were actually all in the Old National Corridor in Fulton County.
And what time did this happen?
This happened around, 5 a.m. in the morning.
I'm a bit confused because on the warrants, it mentions 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Can you tell us a little bit more about that time difference and what that means?
So normally what we put on the actual time frame is when the incident occurs. So far as when we actually know the incident occur from the time that the date ending when we finish our investigation.
And we're walking to, we're going over the second one right now. The events that happened on September 5th, 2022. Was that September 5th, 2022 to December 13th, 2022. And can you walk us through what those dates are referring to?
So at that time at 9:05, the incident occurred at 3:52 a.m. Mr. Myers was called at 12/13/2022. So the warrants was obtained at that time.
And what is the warrants for in
So,
this case?
burglary second degree.
And what happened in this one?
So this one's actually the same. Well, this is a different Family Dollar, which is still in the Old National Corridor. It shows the males going inside the actual location. And pretty much the same things were stolen: cigarettes and lighters were taken at this location.
And what items were taken from this first location?
Cigarettes,
And what is the address of this family dollar?
7490 Old National Highway.
But they're different family dollars you mentioned?
Yes, it's two family dollars on the Old National Corridor.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, what county is 7490 Old National Highway?
Fulton County.
Thank you. And we're going over to the next one now. September 1st, 2022 to December 13th, 2022. The events that took place from 6:20 a.m. to 3 p.m. Can you walk us through what happened in this instance?
Around 6:20 a.m. We were notified that another burglary took place at the Family Dollar. And with the video surveillance, it showed the same individuals entering the Family Dollar.
What is the address of this family dollar?
5403 Old National Highway,
What county is that in?
Fulton County.
Thank you. And what items were taken in this one?
Cigarettes was taken in this one.
As far as the damage to the actual property goes, what type of damages did you see when you were investigating this?
So the front window was broken. On the last two, which have the same address, the window was never repaired. So they went through the same window to gain entry.
What do you mean the last two?
So one of the family dollars got hit back to back simultaneously. So there was one day they were hit and burglarized. They never got the window fixed. The very next day, they actually got hit again as far as burglarized.
Moving on to the next one. As for the events of August 31st, 2022, at 4:58 a.m. and December 13th, 2022 to at 3 p.m. Can you walk us through what happened in this instance?
Yes, so the burglary took place at a Shell gas station. That address is 5690 Old National Highway, which is in Fulton County. At that time, Mr. Myers was seen throwing a rock through the actual glass door and entering the location. In this instance, Mr. Myers took only candy from behind the bar.
And how were you able to identify that it was in fact Mr. Myers who was involved in this instance?
So we have video surveillance of showing him actually going inside the store. He did not have a mask on or anything. It clearly shows Mr. Myers.
And going over to the next case, September 11th, 2022 at 7:23 a.m. and December 13th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Can you walk us through what happened in this instance, please?
This is, again, a Family Dollar that was actually burglarized. At that time, a rock was thrown through the window. The males entered the location and took cigarettes. They only target a certain cigarettes, they go directly to the cigarettes. And then after they get the cigarettes, they leave.
You mentioned males and they. Were there several people involved in this instance?
Yes, he has co-conspirators too as well.
And how were you able to identify Mr. Myers in this case?
So once we actually talked to Mr. Myers, once he was taken into custody, we spoke to him. Mr. Myers was at the time he was truthful. He did say that he did do this because he was homeless and hungry, and he only did that to eat and have food for him. So he was very remorseful to the time too as well, saying that he was sorry for the damage that he did, but his thing was, far as surviving.
What items were taken in this instance?
So it was cigarettes at this location.
I'm confused. So what was
at the gas station? It was candy and food. At the Family Dollars, it was cigarettes.
I see. And what is the address of this Family Dollar?
5403 Old National Highway.
And what county is 5403 Old National Highway?
Fulton County.
Moving on to the next case, last one. is the events that took place on August 2nd, 2022 at 8:02 a.m. and December 13th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Can you please walk us through what happened in this instance, please?
Yes, in this case at 5495 Old National Highway, the Pretty Herb Boutique clothing store was burglarized. On video, you see Mr. Myers with two other individuals taking clothing out of the store and exiting the store after they took numerous amounts of clothing.
How, excuse me. How were they able to gain entry into the premises?
Throwing a rock through the window.
And what county is the 5495 Old National Highway?
Fulton County.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, one other question, actually. When you were able to review the videos, and you mentioned that you were clearly able to identify Mr. Myers. Do you see Mr. Myers inside the courtroom today?
Yes.
Everybody can remove their mask.
You can stand up if that's easier for you. And could you please point out Mr. Myers and describe a facial feature or an item of clothing?
That's Mr. Myers with the blue and the white turtleneck with a mask.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect that the sergeant in this case has clearly identified the defendant sitting at the defense table in this case.
All right, record so.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Frost, Ms. Ginniburn.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Hello, Officer Dickerson.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm well. How about yourself?
Good.
So when you received the call for the 911 call for the break-in, what did the caller state?
At that time, ma'am, when it's initial 911 call, it came from the actual employee that came in and said they had a break into the businesses.
And were there multiple subjects or just one?
Multiple.
And how many?
Two other individuals.
So 3 in total.
Yes.
And were there prints taken from the store?
Yes, prints were collected.
And were they of any value? Did they give you guys any clue as to who may have broken in?
We don't know that this time, ma'am.
And were you initially able to identify any of the subjects?
Yes, ma'am.
How were you able to identify the subjects?
Speaking to several citizens and also canvassing the area, we learned of the individuals which have already been arrested. They was arrested before Mr. Myers.
But did this occur on the date of the incident?
What do you mean?
So did it occur, the incident occurred between, excuse me, between September 7th to December 13th. It looks like there was a search warrant that was performed. I'm saying on the date of the incident, September 7th, were you able to identify who actually committed the crime?
So they were already identified before this search warrant ever took place.
Okay, so let me clarify. On September 7th, when the Family Dollar on 7490 Old National Highway was broken into, were you able to identify who the subjects of that break-in were?
That's correct.
So on that day, you were able to identify them?
Not on that day, not the actual day itself, but upon investigation, I learned of the individuals.
And you spoke about video footage. Where was that video retrieved from?
From the Family Dollars, also from the Shell gas station, and also the Pretty Hair Boutique.
Did you personally view the footage?
I did.
Was the video preserved?
Yes.
Was my client arrested at the incident location?
No, he was called in a search warrant when officers made contact with him.
And do you recall when that would have been?
It would have been the day of the search warrant when that search warrant was executed. So that'd have been 12/13/2022.
And you spoke about a rock being used to burglarize the Family Dollars. Was the rock tested for fingerprints?
You cannot test a rock for fingerprints.
Was the building tested for fingerprints or anywhere inside of the location?
Yes, the building was processed.
Were any fingerprints recovered?
I have to get with the CSI tech, but it was processed and everything with the CSI, they sent it to the lab.
Can you just provide the description of the subject from the bolo?
Short male, had a white shirt on with a beard, with a tattoo.
Did they just make a description of the tattoo?
No, we wasn't able to make the description of the tattoo, not off the video footage.
And were any items discovered on Mr. Myers?
There were not.
Where was Mr. Myers questioned?
We took him to, and I'm sorry about that, 4121 Cascade Road.
Is that a precinct?
It is.
And was he under arrest at the time?
He was actually, yes, he was under arrest at the time.
Was he read his Miranda rights prior to giving a statement?
He was.
And were you the officer that performed the
Yes, ma'am.
questioning?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you wearing your body camera?
The video camera was on. Yes, ma'am.
And was the video preserved?
Yes, ma'am.
And you stated during your conversation with Mr. Myers, he admitted guilt, correct?
That's correct. Again, it was multiple burglaries that we had in the location. I mean, in the Old National Corridor. He was questioned about all the burglaries that we've been having recently. But some of the ones, like I told him in the interview, I wouldn't put anything on him that he did not do. For example, we had a couple of churches that was actually burglarized. He did not admit to those. And he also kept stating anything that he did, it was because he was homeless and hungry.
But he did admit to all, I guess
That's
it was
correct.
6 incidents here.
That's correct.
And you also stated that he committed the crimes due to being hungry and homeless.
Yes, ma'am.
And he also stated that he was sorry, or you stated he was remorseful, excuse me.
Yes.
And then you going back a little bit, you stated that you showed a photo to a person and the anonymous person stated that it was twin. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How did you link twin to Mr. Myers?
So when the bolo was given, we went to the Camelot condos, which is located on Old National Highway. And once we started asking people about a bolo, and then of course someone said, "Oh, that's twin." So once we said twin, we asked the location where twin hangs out at, and that's where Sergeant Burkhart started canvassing the area where they actually made contact with twin, Mr. Myers.
And is twin a common nickname?
I don't know, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Right. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I have an announcement to make. Would you like me to make that announcement about position 2 right now, or would you
Do
like?
you have any more questions?
Not in these cases, Your Honor, no.
All right, this is You're good? He can leave?
No, Your Honor.
Can't leave? Do you have another
Good
case?
question.
For position two, Your Honor, I know that Sergeant, I'm sorry, Officer Burkhardt was the officer who had issued the warrants, but since we have Sergeant Dickerson here from the same agency, we're asking for the officer to have,
About this too?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead. I mean, or we can start from the beginning. You want him to go ahead or just start all over in a minute?
So
Yeah, okay.
we would be objecting if he's not familiar with the case and familiar with the actual charges that are alleged against my client. When he came on the stand, he essentially told us that he wasn't here for this position and he wasn't aware of what occurred.
I have a copy of the warrant that I can have the officer review or have the sergeant review for just a few minutes. And he'll be familiar with the facts. He's from the same agency. He's familiar with the other cases that are related to position two.
Sorry, how you feel?
I don't know the interaction that actually took place with 22 that led to the obstruction. I do know he did take off running, but I don't know what happened in between that part. So I know it has to be certain elements involved when it comes to obstruction. I don't know what he said to him or anything like that. So I can try.
Your Honor,
I mean, it's up to you because it's giving false information and willful obstruction, I think, are those charges. So,
may I approach your witness, Your Honor?
okay, you can let him look at it and see how he feels comfortable. If not, you may have to. I guess I could look at it, Sergeant, if you let us know.
And Your Honor, in reference to Sergeant Burkhardt, he called me yesterday. He's injured. He's probably going to be out for quite some time. But he did ask me to notify the court.
So that would be the officer on position two.
Yes, ma'am. He's a sergeant also.
Okay.
So-
So do y'all have a policy that, I mean, in something like that, that the officer can't testify via Zoom? I mean, I don't mind. I have no problem. Me, I can't speak for any other judges, but if it's something like that where he's injured, I have absolutely no, obviously unless he's on pain medicine, but I don't know, but I never have a problem if an officer somewhere. And I mean, I know it's no different than you having somebody from the DA's office read the warrant testifying. That's sometimes what you do. Ms. Kennebrew, you have well, you're reviewing it first. You have a position. And I guess their only other thing would be probably get somebody from the DA's office to read it and present it the same way.
I mean, essentially, Your Honor, if there were other arresting officers that were there at the time of the incident, we would be comfortable with those officers coming in to testify because they were there and saw the incident occur. I don't want it to be a free-for-all where any officer from the agency can come and testify as to what happened by reading an actual warrant and saying, oh, yeah, my memory is refreshed.
Yeah.
Feel comfortable.
All right. He says he doesn't feel comfortable. Is there?
That's fine.
I mean, I have absolutely no problem if you want to get that officer on Zoom
Or any of the other arresting officers.
or
that
anybody
may have
else,
been
maybe who was there. I mean, but this officer just said he doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 88, I cannot hear you. I apologize. Yes, my apologies. Thank you.
You say identity is the issue. I guess I don't understand what you just said because
Usually,
I mean,
the
that's-
officer,
I know that sometimes if you can't get an officer for whatever, so somebody from the DA's office investigator will read it, talk to whatever and do the testifying. So if there's another officer that was there besides the sergeant who's injured, they can identify him.
And Your
absolutely, Your Honor, but if the witness on the stand was not present at the scene at that time, and he's not particularly familiar with the facts of that particular charge, even though it's the same exact defendant, to be able to identify the defendant in court at that specific instance is gonna become an issue. John, I'm just,
Okay, so
Maybe.
he wasn't there. So is that what are you arguing against what you're trying to do? Sounded like.
no, I'm just saying in general, I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know.
In this case-
They've had investigators from the DA's office testify before, right? Investigator Pauls from something?
So yes, but Your Honor, this is it's not an issue. He's out sick. We'll review the case and we'll come up with, a plan to get someone in court.
Okay, so
So
they
it's
go.
all right. If
So that makes
Sergeant,
sense.
if Sergeant Dickinson does not feel comfortable, that's fine.
Yeah, that, okay. He didn't feel comfortable. So anything else for the sergeant? All right, thank you, Sergeant. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And tell the other sergeant, I hope he
Yes,
feels
ma'am.
better. All right, go ahead with argument.
Your Honor, we're going to, excuse me, Your Honor, I'm sorry. hold on. Your Honor, we're going to submit on the evidence, or excuse me, submit on the testimony.
All right, so we'll find probable cause on positions 3 through 8. Go ahead with your bond argument. 3. Wow.
Defendant, he has a total of 13 cycles. He has a battery family violence in 2021. He has a misdemeanor violate family violence order in 2021. He has a armed robbery in 2000, a aggravated assault in 1990, and then he has 2 failure to appears in 1999. He also has a hold out of Griffin, Georgia for probation violation, and that was on 10/7/2021. And nothing further for the defendant.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Kennebrew.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Myers is 52 years of age. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He does have children, but they are all grown. His entire family lives here in Georgia. He did complete the 12th grade. He does suffer with some essay issues. The last FTA that I heard pretrial mention was in 1999, Your Honor, so he is not a flight risk. We are just asking for the bond to be reduced. Mr. Myers is indigent and cannot afford any bond. However, we'd be asking for the bonds not to exceed, each case bond not to exceed $8,000.
Your Honor, this defendant has multiple prior felonies, and the majority of them have been for a theft offense, and here we are again for multiple theft offenses. Therefore, the threat or danger to the community property remains extreme. The chances of the defendant for the same exact reasoning remains extreme as well. Therefore, we're asking for the defendant to be placed on an ankle monitor to be paid for by the county, and for a reasonable bond to be set in this case. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Chamberlain, I'm gonna do $5,000 on it per case. And then let's see, we'll go over, so, and all of them, so all of these will have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. You'll also need to provide an address where you will be living to the jail upon release. I think, Ms. Kennebrew, you may try to get him into some sort of.
We're working with our social worker.
Okay, so they'll try to get you some housing. So for position 3, also add Ms. Chamberlain. No drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, of course, will be on all of them. And on position 3, stay away from all Family Dollar stores, 7490 Old National Highway in the city of South Fulton. So stay out of the city of South Fulton, basically, sir. Don't go back to South Fulton for anything unless somehow you've got a ticket. Same thing, ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Position 4. Got all that, Ms. Chamberlain? Basically,
Yes, Judge.
okay, all right. On position 4, we will add still same thing, ankle monitor, all the other conditions, and we'll add stay out of the city of South Fulton and stay away from 7490 Old National Highway, all Family Dollar stores. Same thing, you have to provide an address where you'll be living to the jail upon release.
And Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
on all of these, can we also add basic necessities since he will be on the ankle monitor, but he would.
Oh, sure. And Ms. Chamberlain, you can add basic life necessities.
Okay.
Let's see, and on position 5, stay away from the address, right? 5403 Old National Highway, once again, all Family Dollar stores, and stay out of the city of South Fulton. Position 6 is stay away from 5690 Old National Highway, that's a Shell gas station. Also stay out of the city of South Fulton. And then all those other similar conditions. Position 7. Stay away from 5403 Old National Highway. Once again, that's the Family Dollar Store. Stay out of South Fulton. All those same conditions, ankle monitor, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapon. Position 8, stay away from 5495 Old National Highway, and that's the Pretty Fur HER boutique. Same thing, stay out of the city of South Fulton, no drugs, no alcohol, same, all the same, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and the ankle monitor paid for by the county on all of those. So it'd be $5,000 on each count. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And so on position 2, how long, do you need a reset for? Investigator Pauls, how long do you think, you would need to? I don't know how late how out the sergeant is, or to get in touch with another officer. What do you think?
And so I would say, let's see what we got next week. I would say just get, Judge, if you could just give it 2 weeks.
Okay, a 2-week reset.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All
you.
right. Let's watch. What's 2 weeks? June 8th, 9 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And let's see, on the 4-4, Skinnaboo, he given the one, I think it's for the $1,000 good bond. I mean, do you want to be heard on that one?
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
It's a $1,000 good bond on
Oh,
this.
the two misdemeanors. Yeah, we will leave that.
I was gonna say, because if it gets much lower than that, sir,
Not be able-
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
bonding companies can't do it, so that's kind of as low as it can go on that one. So best of luck to you. Then we'll bring out Blaine Smith once Ms. Kennebrew finishes talking to him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Investigator Paul, y'all have any contact with the officer in position 1 for Blaine Smith?
Okay. Sorry, Judge.
That's okay.
I'm working from a couple of monitors and I have to make the mouse go left or right.
It's like
so-
working at a TV station. You're like,
Right, for sure. So I reached out to APD because I got a ton of leave slips and I did not see one for Officer Smalls. I went all the way back to March. So I reached out to them to see if there's one that I've overlooked and I've not got a response. I'll just leave that up to the discretion of the court, how to move forward with this one. But he was served the subpoena. The subpoenas was sent out on, let me bring that up. Okay, now my computer is not responding. So the subpoenas, I would say, is the 22nd. The subpoenas should have been sent out on the. No, I don't want to guesstimate it, Judge. I'll just stand by with that date, not unless the prosecutor can bring that up in his computer. My computer has stopped responding. It's not responding.
all right, we'll get Mr. Smith out here too. He wants to look and see. I think this might-
Let's see, my phone.
Yeah, and on the ninth, I lowered his bond to 3,000.
I'm sorry, what is your name? I'm sorry, what is your name?
Good morning. Come have a seat.
Okay, this is Blaine Napoleon Smith, 22 CP 214381, 174 days without indictment, criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, entering auto or a motor vehicle with intent to commit a theft or a felony. All right. What says the state on this and the Officer Smalls?
Yes, Your Honor. The officer is Officer Smalls with the Atlanta Police Department, badge number 6940. Officer was properly subpoenaed, but unfortunately, he is not in court today. Therefore, we're asking for a continuance so that we can get the officer to come to court.
All right, go ahead, Kennebrew.
Your Honor, we would be asking for a dismissal for one of prosecution. The officer was properly served a subpoena and did not appear in court. He did not give a legal reason as to why he should have been excused. And so we will be asking for a dismissal.
Is this the first time this has been on the calendar?
Yes, Your Honor, it seems like.
All right, we will give one and only one reset. You want this one out 2 weeks too also?
Yes, Your Honor.
June the 8th at 9 a.m. Ms. Kennebrew, does that work? Well, you're covering.
I was gonna say I'm covering, so I'm not certain. It's gonna have to work for Ms. Pinto.
So, sir, this will be the only reset that we give for the officer. This will be the only reset that we give for the officer to show up, okay? If the officer doesn't show up next time, Ms. Kennebrew, if she's filling in, or Ms. Pinto will move for the case to be dismissed, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And you still have a $3,000 bond. It was on the 9th, Ms. Kennebrew.
It was on the 9th of this month.
Yeah, but do you want to address it again?
I will leave it for Ms. Pinto or for Attorney Pinto to handle.
Okay, all right.
What were you gonna say?
Thank you, sir. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. All right, looks like that's it, Investigator Pauls. for
Yes, ma'am.
Morning, but this
Mhm.
afternoon, if you looked at that calendar, because there's a few, it'll be officer's second time,
Uh-oh.
especially
Oh,
on
So I did.
position 1 from this afternoon, let's see, and position 8
Mhm. Okay.
and
I'll
9.
reach out to him and make sure. I did see that. I started putting on the subpoena, a second notice for the agency to see it.
Right, it's like the 8 and 9 are pretty serious.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'll
Right.
make sure to follow up.
Great job, Investigator Pauls.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, we'll see